Hello, my fellow readers. It is I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fanfiction review. As always, a link to the stories will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. Finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, today I got two very short stories that aren't going to take a lot of time because I got to go to work after I finish this video. That I do want to talk about. The first one is Lunar painting by King Magus. It is a Sailor Moon and Castlevania crossover, and this story is okay. So I'm not gonna go over. I'm gonna go very glossily over this story because this story has a very unique problem. So, in terms of plot, it involves. How do I describe this? A member, Indiana Jones' ancestor, gets help from a descendant of Sypha Belnades. They find Dracula's crypt. And bring the crypt, the coffin where Dracula is, into a hotel because the ancestor to Indy wants to prove that Dracula and Vlad the Impaler are the same person. Oh, okay. Then Dracula wakes up, inadvertently kills the guy because Dracula wanted to feed, and he's kind of mopey the fact that instead of actually killing him, Indy kind of gets spooked, leans over a very broken railing, and kind of falls to his death. It's like, oh wow, that go back home, go back to his crypt, and then he gets sent to Japan, where the Sailor Scouts are, and we get a very ramshackle plot of like the Sailor Scouts wanting to help Alucard, because Alucard is there, and then they kind of get wrapped up in the whole event, and they kind of rush through Dracula Castle, and there's a Belmont, and then Grand Dynasty's there for some reason, and then one of the Sailor Mars kind of gets turned into a vampire, and I honestly have no idea how to even properly describe this plot. That's how ramshackle everything about this story is. I have no idea how to describe. Dracula wakes up, kills Indy's ancestor, goes to Japan, gets Sailor Scouts want to go to a museum. They run into Shaft. Shaft shows up. There's an entire chapter just dedicated to Belmont lore for whatever reason. Instead of, I don't know, developing the story more. And there's just nothing. It's 42,000 words of nothing. Made in 2010. So, alright. Okay. Let's kind of discuss the big thing with this plot. There's a lot of plot holes. A lot of very much continuity issues. Because you're thinking, okay, the story was written in 2010. Probably in 2010, so why are there so many continuity issues? One thing, the story works on the assumption that Sonia Belmont was the first Belmont, which is not true. Leon Belmont is canonically the first Belmont because Sonia was retconned out of the franchise when Igarashi took over the Castlevania franchise. There's Licardis, but Licardi didn't have any kids, which is not true because now we have Loretta and Stella Licardi in Portrait Ruin. Dracula, Belmont is weird because it's what's the boy's name? What is your boy's name? No. No. Let's see. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Uh, oh, Janice Belmont. Okay, there. And it's just, why? Why is there so much stuff? Thirdly, and most importantly, the assumption that Dracula is Vlad the Impaler, which is not true because that was revealed in Lamb and Innocence, the scene that introduced Leon. Dracula was actually a man named Matthew Conquerus, who basically kind of got bitter over the death of his wife, and so he kind of hawked his whole scheme to get the Crimson Stone and the Ebony Stone in order to combine them to become Dracula as basically one middle finger to God. That's literally Dracula's motivation for becoming Dracula. He's like, oh, God wants you to die? No, fuck you. Fuck you! And I am just completely. I don't really know what else to say about the plot. Oh, one thing. Despite the fact the author says it, despite the fact it says published in 2010. This is the big thing that kind of irks me. This story was actually written in 2000. Why? I don't. Okay. I understand wanting to show up your old work to kind of show a progression between your earlier works and your later works, because this is not the first time I reviewed King Magus' stories. The last time I did it was the Star Trek and My Little Pony crossover, and I actually thought that was pretty fun. But why put this at the end? Like, wouldn't it? This is really going to be my only main criticism. It's like, I can forgive the continuity issues because outside of the Sonya thing, because the Sonya retcon happened in when Igarashi took over the project, so like around 95, 96. The rest of it, fine. But when he wrote this, none of the other stuff happened. We didn't find out who Dracula was. Lucaris didn't have kids. That's fine. I can forgive all that. But why would you put this note that puts a lot of stuff into context at the end of the story? Just why? Like, it's I don't even hate it because it's like, at least you mention that you put it at least you put it in the story saying that, oh yeah, this story is old and like half the stuff got retconned, so ignore this. But I'm more confused over where you put it. Why couldn't you just put it here? What? Why? Why? I'm confused. Now, let's just zoom through the rest of the story. Character development. What character development? Pacing. It's way too fast paced. Grammar. Okay, at least the grammar. At least it's good. Like, I can at least say the grammar. It's okay. But I don't know what else to say about this story. There's just nothing. Like, why is there an entire chapter just dedicated to the backstory of Belmont? Like, I wanted to read about Sailor Moon teaming up with Alucard. I didn't want to read an encyclopedia of the Belmont tree. Would I recommend this story? No. No. Maybe for a lark. No. Favorite part, I didn't have any. Okay. What would I change about the story? Okay. So one of two things. One, if the author doesn't want to rewrite this story, just take the little note he left at the end and just put it at the front. Like, Like, you don't have to change. If you don't want to change the story, you don't have to change the story. Just move that no to the front. Because when I read this story to do this review, I was just so massively confused about everything that's happening. Like, why is Sonya existing? Why is Grand Dynasty there in modern day in 1996 Japan? What the fuck is going on? Because nothing made absolutely no sense. And I I got to the end and it's like, oh, he wrote it before like most of that stuff was revealed. So it's like, and all I could think of, why did he put it there? Oh, okay. If we have to do a rewrite for the story, then having then at least try and stick it to. I'm okay if you want to keep it in Sonya's continuity. That's fine because you can like finagle all this stuff. It's like, oh, well, what like a completely different family tree. You can kind of make up everything you want. I'm okay with that. I am completely fine with all of that. Having Death kind of be like a pseudo like antagonist to Alucard, he's like, and it's like, well, I'm not he's sleeping right now, so I'm not. It's like, but you're evil. It's like, I'm evil when Dracula's awake. When he's not awake, I'm on the clock. So these people died. I gotta take their souls to the afterlife. So fun, peace. Have like really just rewrite, like just a massive rewrite in the entire story. Give everyone character motivations. Honestly, cut down on the Sailor Scouts because you have all the Scalers, you have all the Sailor Scouts, you have the Tuxedo Mask, and I think his friends. You have like the 3 other Sailor things, which I don't know. I don't know enough about Sailor Moon to know who these 3 are. If you want to at least be specific, if you want me to be specific on which of the Sailor Scouts, just keep it Sailor Moon, Sailor Mars, maybe Sailor Neptune. I don't know. At the very least, just have Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars because they're really the only 2 most important. You want throw in Tuxedo. Why am I messing up Tuxedo Mask, and that's it. Just have those 2, at least those 2, at most those 3. Have it be a more extended version of this. Like give us some backstory, like Alucard, on who Alucard is in this continuity. Because if we're writing this under the basis of Sonya's backstory, on Sonya's version of the timeline, then Alucard's probably gonna have to be a completely different person. Grant's probably gonna have to be a completely different person. We don't know who Janice is. The only character we at least kind of know is the Belnades member, Carl Belnades. Like, I can forgive that. Like, there's just nothing. I lost it. I lost it. I'm moving on to the next story. I'm not recommending this story. At least y'all just move the author's note to the beginning. That's it. But we're gonna move on to a better story. The Right Tools for the Job by Freshly Baked Spider Bread. Because why? Why that name? I don't know why. Oh yeah, maybe because it has the Sega plushie. Doki Doki Waku Waku. So this is a Toho Project fanfiction, and the story's not that good either. It's better than the previous one, but this one's not that good. So, what is the story about? Well, the story kind of follows a very simple plot. So, we have Kogasa Tatara, who is a Katakasa, who just likes to surprise people. That's kind of her whole thing. She finds out about a bunch of old tools that are starting to show up on shores of the Misty Lake. So she's like, they must be on the cusp of becoming yokai. I must help them. I must help them. I must help them find what they want to do. However, on her journey, she comes across two other people who are kind of looking for the tools for the same purpose. That being Raiko. I cannot remember. I can't. Horikawa Raiko. I can't pronounce her name. I know she's the extra stage boss from Double Dealing character, the character that introduced the cutest thing in Toho, Shinmi Amaru. Because come on, you want to cuddle Shinmi. You want to cuddle the Shinmi. Forfeit all possessions to the Shinmi. She's adorable. Who finds out about this. Basically, Raiko's there because she finds out that they're on the cusp of becoming a yokai, and she wants to like, I want them to join our cause for our land, for the tools, and for our kind to be like have our own little land to ourselves. And also Sakuya, who basically just wants to be there because she's bored. And also because she just wants to collect some of the knives and stuff. Like, it's like, I will take care of them. I will polish them, and I will play to Oju-sama's ego. Says, yes, Sakuya, get those tools. No. Granted, Sakuya's like completely fucking bonkers in the story. I don't know why she's kind of weird. But again, this is Toho. You can kind of fuck around with the characters as much as you want. So they eventually meet up. Granted, they catch Sakuya climbing up a cliff that they can easily just climb over. It's like, why are you climbing over the cliff? Because I can. But can you just because I can? And they kind of come across a construction crew headed by Kiki, who is an art goddess. I know I think she's the main antagonist of Toho 17, I believe. So it can't be Toho 16 because that's the game that introduced Okina. So it has to be like Toho 17 because I know Toho 18 is Unconnected Marketeers and stuff like that. So it has to be 17. And they're basically wanting the tools for themselves. She basically wants the tools to basically like, I'm going to recycle them. Okay, by recycles, I'm going to melt them, I'm going to turn them in, and I'm going to turn them into other tools so that they can be reused again. And they're completely shocked about this. Like, no, yes. And it's a very short story where they drive off the three, and then Kogasa, Raiko, and Sakuya, they come up with a plan to try and rescue them. But Kaiki kind of outsmarts them. It's like, yeah, you didn't expect come on. These are like my tools. This place was a worship for me. You think I wouldn't have fail safes? Huh? You think? And basically, eventually, all the tools that become Tsukiyogamis, including the actual castle where all the tools were from, turns into a Kisukiyogami, and everyone kind of lives happily ever after. It's a very short story. It's not really deep. What you see is what you get. There's lots of little details. I like the detail that the author completely, actually, deliberately kind of does the Japanese way of saying names, like last name, first name, instead of here in America, we do first name, last name. Like you can see right here, Tatara Kagasa, Japanese version. Her first name is Kagasa. And also like the little details of like all four of these characters all wanting the tools because they're tools, but just wanting them for different ways, and all of them are like kind of valid. Like you have Kagasa who wants them to wake up and try to find themselves. You have Raiko who wants them to wake up and basically be part of her upcoming home that she wants to build. Sakuya wants to take care of some of them and basically kind of just just worship, like clean them and have them be taken care of and be happy. in their own way. And Kaiki wants to basically just smelt them and turn them into like basically recycle them and reuse them so that way they and each of their own ways they're all technically valid, and their conflict is just like they just want to do things their own way. It's a nice little story. It is very humorous. I basically like Sakuya. She's basically super hammy, especially since like most of the time when you deal with Sakuya, she's usually like the the straight one where like she's the one who's like plays the straight man to like everyone else's wackiness. Here she's like the goofy one where she's like super hammy. Like her introduction is literally like, Oju-sama, I found this paper of, it's like, yes. I don't know what this paper means, Sakuya. There are tools down there by the beach. I'm sure if we find them, I can totally soothe your ego to let me get them. Yes, you're definitely soothing my ego. I will soothe your ego back, please. Don't shut up, Patchouli. Yes, get these tools so that way you can get them to me. Yes, so you could be very more valuable. Yes. Knife. Yes, ego. Off I go. Did she really have to play your ego? Yes. And of course, the aforementioned rock wall, and she's like super serious and everything, and she like the dynamic of the three characters. They're very basic. There's not really any character development of like any other characters except for Kagase. She gets a tiny bit of character development when like Raiko and Sakuya kind of start respecting her because it's like they're both kind of in their own world trying to and kind of clashing on what they want to do, and Kagase's kind of like caught in the middle. But then they kind of realize Kagase is like more important than more respectful of this whole thing than they even realize because they just see Kagase as like the umbrella who wants to surprise people but is super bad at it, and like, everyone kind of pities her, and she cries and she deserves hugs. Give her hugs. She's just as cute as Shinmi. Worship her. Give her and make sure that when she surprises you, you pretend to be surprised, for that is how she feeds head pets. It was to the point where, like, at the end, Sakuya basically just admits, is like, you mildly surprised me. And Kogasa's like, say that again. It's like, what? Oh, yes, you did surprise me. Yay! I surprised someone. Hooray! Now I am the happy. And the story kind of ends on, like, a very humorous note. With really having to eat her words. It's like, well, she brought some of the tools back, but I don't want him talking to me. It's like, do you think are you willing to admit that you shouldn't have let her play to your ego? Yes. That way, like, Raiko, she's playing music and she sees like Kaiki basically made like a bunch of figurines of Raiko, and then Raiko sees that she built like life-size ones that are like fully posable. It's like, and Raiko's like, how many did you sell? Oh, that's the last one. And Kagasa kind of has to basically is kind of showing the castle, who's now a little girl around because Toho always has to be like nothing but little girls. Overall, there's not much in the way of character development. It's a very cutesy story. Nothing too much. Character-wise, is good. Grammar-wise, it's fine. Pacing-wise, it's fine. There's nothing, like I said, with these two stories, there's just not a lot to dig in. That's why I'm kind of lumping these two together. I do think this story is fine. I would recommend it. It's very plain, very forgettable, but at least I can say this story is at least good. What would be my favorite part? Probably the running gag like the halfway through the story. Where that should be, yeah, right here. Where like Sakuya and Patchouli are like in the kitchen drinking tea, and instead, because Sakuya always the one that makes their tea, they decide to make their tea too instead. And so I was like, Sakuya Remelia's is like incredibly bitter, while Patchouli's like incredibly sweet because they just made it how they themselves like made it for the other how they themselves like it. And I think it's a really good setup where like they're kind of figuring things out. Like I like sweet tea. It's like I like bitter tea. Like then why'd you make me bitter tea? So why'd you make me sweet tea? And security shows up, getting like more knives. Like it's like, oh, you're back. Sorry, I gotta go up again. And then she leaves. And then the joke ends with like both of them trying to just like, it's like, well, no, you drink your tea. Like you drink your tea. And then both of them just subtly just give each other their tea and just just switch tea and just drink it. It's like, yes, yes. There's nothing. Sorry, I don't have anything more to say about it. It's kind of good, at least something. When like the worst I can say about the story is like it just leave your mind immediately. But yeah, that is these two stories. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.